And we are live. Hi everyone, welcome to the episode of Le Check-In. Today we have a very special guest. We have a co-host who is not from Montreal New Tech. We have Caitlin from Le-Wagon. Caitlin, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Thank you so much for having me. I am very happy to be representing Le-Wagon, and I'm super excited to speak to everybody here a little more about all of the happenings in the Montreal tech and innovation ecosystem.
Well, this webcast, we have a special two things that we're talking about. So, we are trying to cover more about women and entrepreneurship. And as you already mentioned, all about tech and innovation in our ecosystem. But before we jump in, we have a question for audience. Do you guys have something that you saw in the past week and something that you want to share with us? Please leave the comment down and we'll feature just like Well did right now. So yeah, it's time to jump for a highlight section. So where we kind of cover what happened last week. So the first thing that I saw, and we really want to cover, is DMZ's fast track program for women founders. DMZ just started this Canadian-wide program for all the women tech founders, and the deadline to apply for the application is September 8th. And as you can see, it's DMZ is from Ontario, but the program is whole Canadian-wide. And if you see the website, you can see some of the things that they provide, from mentorship to 3 weeks accelerator program to all the experts and helps and is everything. It's super cool. You should definitely check it out. And as I said, the applications has already been started. It started from August 19th and it's still September 8th. So definitely check it out. Now talk. I'm gonna leave to Caitlin. So yeah.
So, kind of continuing on with this theme that we have for today's broadcast of women in tech, we are very excited about Le Manifeste des Femmes en Tech. And the objective of this manifesto is to increase the amount of women in the information and communication technology sector. Right now in Quebec, they compose only 20% of the workforce. And this manifesto is founded and run by very influential women and men in the Montreal tech ecosystem who have seen this pervasive equality in the sector. As the website points out, this issue is not only worrisome, but it's actually counterproductive and costs businesses money as well. So I was just reading a USA Today report that writes that toxic workplaces where harassment, stereotyping, and bullying occur are driving away women and people of color, undercutting technology companies' efforts to increase diversity. And this is actually costing these companies an estimated $16 billion a year. So needless to say, please sign this manifesto. This manifesto and increasing the amount of women in tech in general is critical not only for furthering the success of women in the industry, but also actual profitability for these tech companies and the success of the tech industry itself. So I would love to use this to parry into Le-Wagon's efforts to increase the amount of women that we have in tech. So we are holding an event called Women's Data Day, where we are going to be holding 2 free workshops for women, and they will cover using real life data sets, Python data analysis, to kind of let women dive into the world of data science and data analytics. And we will actually be offering 5 $1,000 partial scholarships for our data science bootcamp, which is launching October 19th. So please sign up for this workshop and please sign this manifesto. Join us in our efforts to increase the amount of women in the tech industry.
Wow. Caitlin, I just have a quick question. Is there any requirement for women in terms of educational background and stuff to apply for this program?
That's a great question. So there are no requirements in terms of technical background, but we are looking for women based on motivation and what they plan to do with the skills and what they learned from our data science bootcamp. So you will be filling out an application to be eligible for this event, and we welcome everybody to apply and see how you can use data analytics and data science to further your career.
That's amazing. I've been following Le-Wagon from now past a year, and I see there's so many workshops, and it's an amazing initiative. And like you were talking about the manifesto as well, like I've seen so many initiatives coming up these days trying to point out this reason, and like so many things are happening that goes hidden in the background, and not many people come up. And I'm happy these days many people are coming up, and it's good. It's like it's something that we need to do. We should have done, and at least now
Mhm.
things are happening. And that being said, I saw something that has been happening, which is pretty cool. Startup Canada has their podcast, which is specifically to support women entrepreneurs. So they have been covering several topics and inviting several leading experts who are in the ecosystem, trying to help them from funding to different topics in the area. So it happens every Thursday, and it's with partnership with Scotia Bank and BDC. I think definitely need to check it more. As you can see, there are two episodes that happened last week and last to last week as well. The one with finding community through adversity with Teresa Loshio, and then we have one more on social impact and combining design and social impact. And I find these episodes super different and unique and something that is kind of covering different areas and how women entrepreneurs can be helped. So definitely check it out. Podcast is free every Thursday again, and it's by Startup Canada. So now we're done with the highlight section. Again, asking everyone, if you have seen something last week that you really want to feature it out, you should read the comments below. We cover just like Valentine is doing right now, and we really want to share more with our ecosystem on what's happening around and how things are happening. So yeah, definitely. Now jumping, this is the end of our highlight section. Now jumping to next section, but before that, I really want to let you guys know that we have a newsletter. Our amazing colleague Andy, he works tirelessly on our newsletter, sharing all the news of our ecosystem. For here, we're just covering like 3 news, but our newsletter covers more. So definitely subscribe to our newsletter for more information. And yeah, and now time to our next week section. But before that, we have a special highlight of our startups that we want to feature. So in this section, we cover startups that are we want to support, are growing more. And if you have any other startup that you want to feature for our startup spotlight section, please let us know. For this week's highlight, we have Cap Solar that we want to feature. So Cap Solar is an amazing startup that I have been following since the time I was working with Coprathon. They were one of the winners of Coprathon, and their startup is based upon solar panels and solar clean tech energy. They've been using it for golf carts and cars background, and they have been growing so much these days. Last week, we also covered Climate Launchpad. And Climate Launchpad is like they have this Canadian-wide competition, and they recently got the third prize in that competition too. So they're one of the companies that's representing Canada at the regional finals with South America, North America, and along with that, there are 2 more companies. So that's super cool. And amazing news is they also got selected for Centex's propulsion program. So definitely supporting Cap Solar. And as I mentioned that they were part of Coprathon. So that being said, Kathleen, I know you are also involved with Coprathon, have been having interesting conversations with them. Do you want to share something about Coprathon with our audience?
Yeah, so I am a huge fan of Cap Solar as well. I actually interviewed the founders on behalf of the Montreal Social Value Fund. They're extremely passionate about this project, and I'm very excited to see them advancing in this way. So looking forward to following them. In terms of Coprathon, I understand that we've had several discussions on Le Check-in about this competition. It's the largest open innovation challenge in Canada, and this year they have actually doubled the cash amount for the grand prize, which is very much in the context of this need to solve these even more pressing social issues surrounding these sustainable development goals. And the Coprathon, you get to join a team in a month-long marathon to solve one of these pressing challenges through the creation of a social enterprise. You get over $5,000 worth of free training, and this year it is free specifically this year. So we really encourage everybody to sign up, check it out, see what they have going on. And yeah.
Wow. I've seen they have more challenges this year, like so many challenges, 10 social economic challenges. And there's so much, like every week they give more mentorship programs and everything is online. So this is like a biggest advantage. You can participate, everyone in Canada, take part, meet mentors, and this is amazing. Wow. Now coming up to next, we have Women in AI Global Summit. So Women in AI is a group that has been established overall in the world. They have different chapters. Recently, the Canada chapter is also launched a month ago. We have special women even from Montreal. She's part of Next AI Montreal, and that's amazing. The Women in AI Global Summit is happening on September 8th, and as you can see, there's already so much demand in terms of 2,130 people. So that's pretty good. They have researchers, AI scientists from everywhere around the world. You can see the event is free, which is super cool. Again, it's a great chance to meet people from Europe, Africa, America, and gain experience. And as you can see, they have like 50 keynote speakers with different workshops and panels and global AI experts. So something I would definitely be part of, and I think Caitlin will be too. So you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, and this is a great initiative, the Women's in AI Global Summit. This is something I speak about as well. It's really ties into this issue of retention for women. So we have a lot of women getting more STEM degrees because there has been a lot of encouragement in this area to study STEM. still one of the issues faced by women in tech, from my research and from what we're seeing now, is the retention rates, so the quit rates of how long they're staying employed in tech companies, which has a lot to do with the environment that they're experiencing working in this industry. And so it's absolutely amazing to be building this inclusive network through these summits and through these type of events. So I would really encourage everybody to attend the AI Global Summits, and this also helps combat this this diversity issue in the sector.
Wow. Caitlin, we were having a call yesterday, and we were talking about so many accelerator incubator programs, and we came across this PMA Montreal's accelerator program. Do you have something to share for them?
Yeah, so PME Montreal is a great organization, a business support network, and they are offering two programs to support young entrepreneurs, students at both the collegiate and university level. So at the collegiate level, they have the Collégial en Affaires 2020. This is the 5th edition. They have over $7,500 in scholarships. It is obviously remote this year, and they will be offering four free workshops to students to help them get their project started through learning different skills and training they will need. And then the student competes for these over $7,500 available in scholarships through a project proposal and several other factors they will be judged on. So that's a very exciting event coming up. And then there is also the Fonds Accélérateur et Incubateur Universitaire, which provide subsidies to support the commercialization of university business projects. And the deadline to apply is August 31st. So this competition is for a little bit more developed projects that have made sales and are part of incubators in universities. And there is a lot going on with this accelerator, so feel free to check it out.
This is cool. This makes me remind of the thing that similar to PMA Montreal, there's so many initiatives that happens throughout Canada and many students are not aware of. And by the time we are getting out of universities, trying to find jobs, getting into same traditional 9 to 5 businesses, we are not aware there's so much help out there. So many accelerator incubator programs specifically focused for students too. And this is what I'm going to take a stand to talk more about our initiative that we are trying to cover this bridge through Out of the Bubble. So Out of the Bubble is this amazing initiative that Montreal Tech has started with two main objectives. We talked about it last week as well. Out of the Bubble is trying to push people out of their traditional mindset of career paths, push them more into entrepreneurial world, help them realize that there's so much more, that they can create their own own career paths and get them out and be their own entrepreneurs and then start their own businesses. And we're starting this with the launch event, which is happening on September 16th. And the another thing that we were talking, and Caitlin was also talking yesterday, was that as we have so many organizations and students don't know, we need to have a space where students can come and find about all the resources that's happening throughout, and to find where they want to be part of, what is something that they want to start their career with. And I didn't know, but like Caitlin mentioned, that she is working with this amazing student VC fund as well, which is specifically in Montreal to helping local cooperatives to start their early stage business, and they help with early stage funding for them. And then I find it super cool. Caitlin, do you have something to share about the VC fund as well?
Yeah, so I work for the Montreal Social Value Fund. We provide flexible financing, and we aim to provide catalytic capital for enterprising nonprofits, cooperatives, and social enterprises. These companies further progress towards one or more of these sustainable development goals, which is why we are very excited at this upcoming event. We would love to attend Out of the Bubble, and we really look forward to seeing the social economy space and who is there to attend this event. And I'm sure we'll see a lot of familiar faces.
Caitlin will be there at our event talking more about the social fund along with so many other players that we have. So we have Centec, we have Montreal In Vivo, we have Renault & Co, District 3, so many organizations who are part of this, sharing their resources on what they have to offer. And we have different breakout sections and different panelists talking about their journeys, what they have done, what are some advices and tips they have for students to start their careers. I'm going to go it fast forward with like 4 breakout sections that we have. We have breakout section talking about social impact and businesses, breaking the myth about that you can also have a social impact and also have a business based on that, how to commercialize and capitalize your research and take it to industry level. Then we have what are some next steps, what about grants, what about legal aspects, what about IP, what about data security, and then at the end we have more about diversity. And today the episode is all about diversity, and that is something we're talking Out of the Bubble as well. What are some organizations doing to promote minorities in entrepreneurship. We have amazing speakers and panelists who are talking about the amazing organizations who have been representing what they're doing. So I'm pretty excited, and we would love to see you guys there. And if you know any other students who can get benefit for something like this, and if your organization want to be part of this kind of initiative, please let us know. We're always there to collaborate and be with our ecosystem. And that reminds me of that we have a special guest today, Alessa, and she's all about what we are talking: women in tech, starting their entrepreneurship career from school, being part of competitions, and now on a successful path for her startup. So, Caitlin, do you want to talk more about Alessa, and then we can have Alessa on board?
Yeah, so I'm very excited to be interviewing Alyssa today. She is the co-founder at Algae, which is the first company in Canada creating food products centered around the world's oldest and smallest superfood, spirulina algae. So we are going to be interviewing her. We're going to be learning a little bit more about her background and some exciting news for this social enterprise. Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, Alessa.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited.
Great. We are very excited to have you. So I would love to start off by just asking you, so you are a master's student in kinesiology right now.
Yes.
I would love to ask, so what inspired you to go from kinesiology to sustainable food production? It's quite an interesting transition.
Yeah, I throughout my undergrad really had no even idea what entrepreneurship was like that it existed and as a career option. And I did a summer program at my university and really fell in love with it and really focused on trying to solve a problem that I was personally very passionate about. So it definitely is not related at all to my studies in my undergrad or my master's, but it's just something that I'm personally very interested about. And it's just like fueled everything I've done in this business and moving forward.
That's great. That's really amazing. And so I am curious because the Montreal Social Value Fund, we look at a lot of these sustainable food production companies, and right now a really hyped alternative protein is crickets. So we know Grillon Le Pain, Crick Bread, which are all Montreal-based companies who use crickets as alternative source of protein. So I would love for you to jump in here. And what is the value of algae? What makes algae the superior superfood in terms of protein alternatives?
So algae is really interesting. It has two aspects. One, it's super high in nutrients for us, so us consuming it. Spirulina specifically, which is the algae that we use, is 70% complete protein. It's high in iron, omegas, so many vitamins and minerals. So especially for people who are focusing on plant-based diets and plant-based eating, it's a really great and easy kind of ingredient that they can start incorporating into their diet to just get so many nutrients packed in at once. And it's also super beneficial to the planet. So it has a 2-to-1 carbon capture ratio. It requires very little water. Actually, it uses a lot of water, but all of the water that gets used gets reused. There's no land requirement. So there's just so many values to the planet as well. So it just kind of has this double-edged sword, but in a good way of being beneficial for both us and the planet, especially in the economy and the climate that we're living in today. These are two big priorities that we're seeing.
That's great, and it's a great company. It's a great business structure and very unique as well. I would love to ask you now a little bit about your experience, like being a young entrepreneur and also being a woman entrepreneur. So I'm sure this is going to tie into your upcoming very exciting update of League of Innovators and being involved in this startup virtual incubator program. So would you like to speak a little more about that?
Yeah, so the League of Innovators is a really great, it's always been virtual, not just because of COVID, but it's a Canada-wide entrepreneurship accelerator for people under the age of 25. So one thing that I found, I've only really been in the entrepreneurship world for the last year, but there's just so many resources for students and for young people. I think finally people are starting to realize that, we're not just the work rats that are going to do all the paper pushing, but we're actually going to, we all have good ideas that can be implemented. And so finally, there's starting to be a lot more resources and support for young people doing things. So I'm really looking forward to finally starting that accelerator. And I'm just always blown away by how many resources and help and how just people in general just want to help you when you say you're a young entrepreneur. As for being a female in this world, I love just being able to show people up and show people like, hey, look, I'm a woman, I'm young, and I'm able to do all this stuff. I'm able to learn all this stuff. And it's just really exciting for me to do. And people have been usually very, very receptive and very impressed with kind of that drive and passion. So the world is definitely starting to open up for women in tech and women in entrepreneurship.
Well, Alyssa, I just have to mention that you're really inspiring.
Thank you.
The points that you mentioned that finally world is recognizing and there's so many resources coming up for students, and then also making them realize that it's not just one path that you have to cover. I really find it well. And that makes me brings to this question that I know you said that you were part of this Queens program. What is something that inspired you to stay and keep committed to your program when you mentioned that there were a lot of other people who kind of stopped working on it and then went on to different paths? What was something that was keeping you so high in energy to keep going on?
I think just like picking something that I was really passionate about during that program was so key, and it was so important. There's been so many times in the past year where I've just been like, I want to give up, I don't want to do this, and then I remember like how personally invested and like personally I care about the problem that I'm trying to solve, and it's really been a big motivation to keep going. We also did receive like a lot of very good traction and interest to kind of validate my own personal passion and interest in this project. But I just think it's so important because there's going to be so many highs, but there's going to be so many lows, that it's important to pick something that you really care about.
I definitely agree. This is something I heard from someone too, and I've been hearing a lot from past days that a lot of people, when they think about the idea of starting their company, many people have this thing that we just want to start with something. We just want to, and then they imagine that we will be billionaires and millionaires in one day, but they don't really know that if they genuinely care about that thing, if they're genuinely passionate about it. And as Alyssa mentioned, this is very important in any kind of startup or entrepreneurship world, that you do care about it. And if it's coming from your heart, it's something that you have seen as a problem in your life, and then go from there. And Alyssa, like as you mentioned in terms of like, a lot of traction, I read that you won Enactus Prize as well. Do you want to share your experience with Enactus Canada?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was selected as one of the top student entrepreneurs in Canada. So it was something that I was nominated for just for, I honestly, I don't know why I was nominated, but just like my passion and drive, I guess, towards my business and towards making a change. Enactus is a really cool social enterprise. It's with universities, and it kind of, I think it's a very good way to help introduce students into the world of entrepreneurship without a lot of personal commitment and personal investment. So you're just kind of trying to dip your toes in. I think it's a really great way. But it's actually an international network of students working on just different social projects. And it's a really cool, really great organization for sure. And I had a great experience partaking in that competition as well.
Yeah, and that's really amazing to be involved with this network of young entrepreneurs. So we do have a question from Valentin, which says, how difficult is it to have a market fit for such a new type of product? And is it easy to both have it? So I'm very curious as well, because of the amount of research I've been doing into this alternative protein. So do you find your customers are passionate about environmental change, and that's why they'll kind of go for this different type of food? Or do you make it so tasty they can't resist, or what's your action plan there?
Taste is definitely a priority for us. I'm going to be honest, spirulina on its own does not taste great. So that's a very big priority. Is like, I'm a big foodie. I love eating and I love good food. So I'm not going to eat something myself that doesn't taste good. So that's a big priority. But I think for us, finding the right market fit, we have spent a lot of time like talking to customers, going to markets. We initially were like, people, like, we know everyone cares about sustainability and they want to make changes. But when you actually go talk to people, you realize like taste, nutrition, convenience, they're all other things that people care about more before sustainability even comes up. So it's really about, for us, finding the right market fit was really about talking to a lot of customers and really trying to understand what they want, what their challenges are, and what they're looking for with spirulina, because it is in an upcoming area in terms of the alternative protein, but it is such a new ingredient that education has also been such an important piece to us. A little frustrating, but that's the reality of what we're doing. So I think just a great way is just to talk to your customers. Like it's been so helpful for us.
Well, Alyssa, if you have one advice that you want to give your fellow students who kind of trying to cover your path, what would it be? What is something that you want to give a student in terms of their path to entrepreneurship?
I just go for it. Like that's the easiest thing. Like I said, I did not even know what entrepreneurship was a year and a half ago. I had no interest in it. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm in a whole field that I know nothing about. No one knows what they're doing in entrepreneurship at all. And that's the big secret of entrepreneurship, is that everyone's just figuring out one step at a time. So I think just if you want to try something, if you want to do it, there's a ton of resources out. Go find someone, ask for help, and just go do it, because we're all figuring it out as we go. So join us.
And I think that type of mentality is what makes young entrepreneurs like so successful at times, is because they're just willing to jump in, take risks. They're young, vibrant, and that's really amazing. And I, for one, put spirulina in my smoothie. So I will be checking out your website. Thank you so much for coming on today and speaking with us. It was really quite insightful. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved being here.
Thank you, Alyssa.
All right, so definitely a lot to think about, and so many exciting updates in the area of diversity and in the tech and innovation industry and young entrepreneurs. So I think, Simran, we are now moving to a lobby. Yes.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for being this amazing host with me. I really had fun, and I think it was really inspiring interview too. I learned a lot too, and I think a lot of students will get to learn a lot from people like Alyssa, and that is what we are here for, to let people know about so many things. So thanks, Kitlin, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And I'll put everybody back on for the lobby section. Hi there. Oh, is it me or? Oh, hi, Alyssa. Hey, that was good. Congrats. We have a few more minutes. So usually the lobby sections, for those who are a bit new to the show, is over. Now we just enjoy some extra overtime. So if there's any questions that you want off record, because you've been all very nice to Alessandra, and I think we can, challenge some of it a bit more. Do you guys have any other questions that we didn't have any time to cover? No.
I just don't have a question. I just want to ask Alyssa in terms of like why this particular product? How did it start? What was your starting point of this?
So we started as a team of 4, and we were trying to find that people cared.
Oh, it breaks a bit for me. Is it just me?
Yeah, they're all. We're all big in food.
Alessandra, you're cutting. Well, the good news is that you start having internet issues literally at the moment of the lobby.
Did you guys hear any of that?
No.
Now we hear you.
Oh,
Go
great.
ahead.
Okay.
Take 2.
Okay, so I was just saying, just like for our team when we started, just finding something that we were all passionate about and common ground, that because we all wanted to be passionate about it, because it's just so important to a successful project. So we were all really passionate about food or sustainability. I am lucky to be passionate about both. But just finding that and doing a lot of research on like upcoming trends, different things and different food products from around the world that people are eating. We discovered spirulina, and like Caitlin said, like people put it in their smoothie, but that's like about the extent of what they're doing with it. And as great as that is, like there's so much more potential with it. And so we kind of saw this as like, no one else is doing this.
So let's dream there. What are if we forget about how people are ready to consume those products, or the price, or all those different constraints, if those are not problems anymore, what are the potential uses of this product?
So we are starting with the bars, obviously, just because it kind of seemed like a good, some people, like a lot of people have heard about spirulina, but a lot of people haven't. So it seemed like the bar was a great product to introduce to the market, like introduce this ingredient to the market, and help with the education that we have to do. But beyond that, I mean, we've successfully made ramen noodles, pasta, cookies, hummus. Like there's just so much. It's so easy to incorporate into products. I mean, it's very hard to make them taste good, but it's so easy to incorporate into products that like any food product that you can think of is probably possible. There's like algae milk is even something that we're kind of starting to look into and see if that, like the possibility and functionality of that. So really endless possibilities.
So about price, because that's, having ideas is free, right? And we all work on projects, but at the end of the day, it's what's the price now? What's the price going to be in the future? Do you think there's some? 'Cause I remember last time I was buying some, the price were really high, and I was importing it from Asia just because with the mathematics works out, and it's not such a novelty product there. Eating algae is not like, ooh, that's literally common ground there. How low do you think the price? Do you think the price will go down significantly, or it's still going to be a challenge for the next few years?
Are you talking about the powder specifically?
For example, yeah.
So
but
I think
just the whole family of those products.
Yeah. So I think the powder is. It's a specialty product right now, so people are able to charge more. We are releasing powder soon, so it will be a little bit less, just because for us, same thing with the bars. So we also have the bars out right now, and the price is pretty comparable to any other traditional bar, nice. Nutrient bar. We could be charging a lot more, to be quite honest, but for us, like, we want accessibility. Like, we don't want our mission is just to help to displace some of the unsustainable food that we're currently eating. So for example, meat is, as everyone knows, is quite bad for the environment. So because spirulina has all of the protein in it, it's such a great alternative, but we want to make it accessible so that everyone can be making these sustainable choices. So for us, it does not make sense to be charging a lot and charging more than we need to when ultimately we're trying to make it more accessible for everyone. So I know that spirulina in the next few years is going to be making a huge, and algae in general is going to be making a huge emergence. But for us, our priority is really to make it accessible for everyone. And hopefully we are able to kind of dictate the prices of all the products. Fingers crossed that we kind of can be a leader in the industry, but we'll see what happens.
So any last round of questions?
I actually had one quick question, which might not be so quick, but because this alternative protein movement, so I know for crickets especially, we are also looking at ways to use that to fight the famine crisis in developing countries. And I'm wondering if you have considered, I understand right now, since you're a startup and relatively new and your market is quite local, I would imagine, at least within Canada. I'm just curious if you've explored the possibility of algae to help fight famine in developing countries specifically, and to kind of take it outside of the first world right now.
Yeah, so as Val said, like in Asia and even in Africa, like it's pretty common that people are eating algae. So actually in India, for example, they mass produce algae, like spirulina, like crazy. And they just give it out to kids like candy. And it's actually been shown to reverse anemia and reverse the effects of malnourishment. So it really is like a great product, and they actually are already doing these things. So what we're trying to do, and again with the accessible prices and everything, is trying to help with the food insecurity within Canada and North America. It is a great product. It is a great product for athletes, but it also is a great product for people who are just food insecure. And, if they can spend $3 and get a bar and get like a quarter of their iron in through one bar, and it's only $3, like that's for us, like that's such a great to be able to help people like that. So it actually already is happening. It's been happening for years around the world, and now we're trying to make it more accessible within Canada.
It's really interesting how the culture plays out, because you're trying to do a business in a context, you can kind of boil down to technology processes and such, but when you get into the culture, it's shifting. And for example, traditionally in places like Asia and Africa, it was fairly common to eat those kind of alternative source of proteins like insects and such. And now, because of the kind of occidental way of doing things, it goes back into like, no, like eating insects is bad. And for example, recently this summer, there was this huge problem in some regions in Africa where insects were eating a lot of crops. right? It's like free proteins, but no, culturally now it's like it's frowned upon to eat that. But like if they're going through all your production and eating everything and you don't catch them, the mental block is not an economical one, is a cultural one. And you do as much as product innovation than just pure marketing innovation, which is how can I sell this idea. And I just want to finish on something that you said where we asked, remember we had the discussion and at some point you stopped and you're like, well, our vision is. And it's something I want to push to everyone working on their startup. The vision of your startup is something usually you start with, and a lot of startups tend to forget about it. But when people ask you really hard questions and you're not 100% sure, or you haven't done all the maths, or the maths you could make the numbers work, but then you stop and you go back to your vision, you're never wrong. You could make it work, but your vision is to make it accessible. So then you won't go and increase the prices, right? So never forget your vision and what you got in the startup in the first place. Hey, that's all the time we had. The lobby was pretty brief. Sometimes we run for too much. We're trying to keep ourselves tempered here. Thanks everyone for live. Simran, I will let you close the show, and then if you guys have any questions, down the comments as usual. Simran, what are the next episodes going to be about? You're working on all that content.
We have so many episodes coming up, from green tech to clean tech to VR again, and more episodes of fintech. But also, like, if you guys have more things that you want us to cover, feel free to let us know, and we'll find more inspiring candidates like Alyssa to have these deep dive sessions. So yeah, comments below. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks, Will, for the closing wisdom. It was really good. Thanks, Caitlin, for co-hosting with me, and thanks, Alyssa, for the inspiring interview. Thank you so much, guys.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.